Good morning and welcome, Patriot News Hour. Joe and Jason on this Thursday. I hope it finds you well. What do we got? We got the NFL draft tonight. Yeah, well, I guess for a little bit. Not Cardinal fans, doesn't seem to matter who we draft. We know we're going to stink. But a lot of teams like to get distracted with their teams. And here's the good news. You probably won't hear anything that I talk about today while you're watching the draft. You won't even have to think about how messed up everything is out there. Our toll-free number, 800-951-0592. The website at allamericangold.com. And before I get too far into this, tomorrow we will not be here. The radio station will be closed. Patriot will be closed. We got else. People die, funerals to go to. We'll just leave it at that. But we will be closed tomorrow, both in Colorado and Arizona. But don't worry. Don't worry. Go to allamericangold.com. Get all your gold and silver needs. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And then Jason and I, we will be back on Monday. But it is Thursday today. I don't know. We got the same nonsense going on with the war. Maybe a meeting, maybe not a meeting. Everybody's taking boats, right? Iran is taking boats. We're taking boats. And, of course, I call them boats, right? These things are mile-long tankers and container ships. Maybe they could have a meeting to decide whether or not they're going to have a meeting. Yeah, I mean, that's where we're at. The president did say the U.S. Navy will shoot to kill small Iranian boats, and that the United States doesn't need a deal. So there you go. The U.S. military did intercept, and I guess we have now taken possession of 2 Iranian super tankers, oil tankers. Yeah. So long story short, not very many, if any, ships making it through the Gulf. Iran did confirm the first toll payments being made. They said the first revenues received from tolls in the Strait of Hormuz have been transferred to the central bank's account. Don't know what it was, how much it was, what type of taker it was. So anyway, we don't know anything. My guess is when I get back here on Monday, we will be saying the very, very same thing, which is nobody really knows anything more than, well, what we know right now. So having said that, we did get jobless claims today. And ready? I know it's a shocker. It was 214,000, so it's incredible. It really is. We if you just say anything between 200 and 215,000, like you get like every week. It's the same number pretty much every single week. Just nobody's hired, nobody's fired, and I guess that's what we're going to call it anyway. We did get some more news about the inflation that we keep telling you is coming. United Airlines, matter of fact, all the airlines. So American today lowering their guidance. All the airlines today raising summer airfares 20%. So 20% is going to be what you are going to pay more in airfares. At least it's better here. Overseas, a lot of airlines are having to cancel thousands and thousands and thousands of flights on top of whatever flights are canceled. I don't even want to know what it's going to cost there. So be fortunate. It's only 20%. And then how about this? It always is something where when we say this a lot, we really don't get the true cost of the actions taken. Like, we haven't really seen yet, outside of gas prices, the really big inflationary effects of what has happened with Iran. Well, guess what? And I didn't think it could get any more expensive. Homeowners insurance. Okay? Homeowners insurance. We know it like doubled in the last couple of years. But I'm thinking, all right, well, we're probably going to calm down now, right? We had these big spikes. Well, apparently now they're saying that the tariffs, some of which may or may not be refunded, I don't know, are going to add an extra $106 to the average homeowner's annual insurance cost. Now, I'm wondering $106. That'd be like, I guess, on a $400,000 house, something like that. I don't know. Yeah. Why? Well, because tariffs made everything we insure in the house more expensive, so we got to charge them more. Yeah, isn't it great? We'll be back after the break. 800-951-0592, Patriot Radio News Hour. Joe and Jason here on this Thursday. Quick look in. The Dow's down 70. No big deal. By the way, Warren Buffett, Warren Buffett, he has an indicator. And, of course, we've been telling you, right, Berkshire Hathaway now, Buffett's going to be stepping aside, but they've got, I think it's like hundreds of billions of dollars waiting on the sidelines, has hit the highest level ever. Higher than the dot-com bubble, higher than the financial crisis, as to at least how Warren Buffett views stocks, the most overvalued that they have ever been. But it's kind of, right, interesting. Jason, I keep telling you, listen, guys, there's so much money being printed that you don't see. We talked about the M2 money supply. It's just skyrocketing. And you got to be really smart here, right? And follow what the central banks are doing. That is probably the best indicator you could really have, right? Because let's face it, if equities were great and all that, that's what they would be buying. But the Dow, right now, like I said, down 70, S&P's up 4, the Nasdaq's down 19. Basically what I call this is, well, today it's flat. It's doing nothing, right? The bond market, flat, doing nothing, right below 430. Oil, it's up, but 50 cents a dollar, kind of weird, right? And again, remember yesterday, everyone's kind of like, what are these paper oil markets doing? I don't know. Gold, doing nothing. We have been sitting here pretty much all week here. Right now, gold is down $5, $47.35. Right? We've been sitting here right below $47.50 all week. All week. Silver down $1.50. So silver got a little cheaper today. Great. Take advantage. Because it's been at, now, right. It's been at $77 all week. So now, who knows? Right, in another 5 minutes, it may not be right. It will be right kind of where it's at. The whole market is kind of like, yeah, we better wait and see. I got two different articles that I need to tell you about today. One is about Kevin Warsh. You know, he had his I guess, his hearing before his confirmation. I need to tell you about how he is going to change how the Federal Reserve tracks inflation. Okay? So remember the last time we did this once before with Alan Greenspan, right? Alan Greenspan did if something gets too expensive, they'll just buy something else, right? If beef's too expensive, they'll buy pork. And we'll just use pork instead of beef, and then we'll say there's no inflation, right? The old substitution method.
Shrinkflation.
Yes. Well, we've got another form. And this one, I don't even know what this is. Well, I told you. Right? This is their way of coming up with fancy words, structural tightening, right? That allows them, because you know what? They sit in a room, right? And these are really smart people, right? I mean, they went to the best colleges, right? Most of them were very wealthy, right? They went to the best high schools. They went to the best colleges. I mean, Kevin Warsh, let's call it what it is. The guy's a billionaire. Well, he's only $100 million, worth $200-300 million. But his wife, she's worth a couple billion, right? I mean, these wealthy of wealthy. Well, here's what he said in his testimony, is what he finds the most interesting. Okay? It's funny. I don't really care. I don't care about what Joe and Jason find in this. I don't care about what the average American thinks. No, what I find interesting is what he calls the underlying inflation rate. The underlying reflation rate? What does that mean? Isn't there just the inflation rate? Well, no. And again, remember, they've got like 12 different gauges of inflation. Right? They've got headline inflation, core inflation, then they've got the control group inflation, CPE, and this and that, right? They got all these things. Nope. What's the underlying inflation rate? Not what's the one-time change in prices. I don't care about that. Well, gosh, if there's a change in geopolitics, so this is what he's talking about with gas. Well, there's a change in geopolitics. We shouldn't, now there's structural tightness in the oil market. We should just ignore that. Or, ready? Or the change in beef. Well, I don't know how that got in there, but apparently, the fact that it's too expensive to raise cattle in America means that we shouldn't count it. Let's just not count it. What I would prefer is looking at things. You ready? There's a new one. Ready? Called trimmed averages. And you know what? I got to give these guys credit. They put right in the title. What's the first word? Trimmed. What does that mean? Well, we're going to take a look at these averages, but before we do, we're just going to give it a good trimming, right? We're just going to whack it down, and then we'll say this is what. If we take out all of the tail risk, wait a minute. If we just take out things that just are going higher because something happened, well, I don't know, there was a drought, there was this, there was that, there was a hurricane, let's take that out. Take out all of what he calls the one-off items. So I guess maybe car insurance, right? Let's take that. How about home insurance? I told you about homeowners insurance. Everyone's homeowners insurance is going to go up another 10% because of the tariffs, because everything that goes in the house is getting a tariff. I guess he'll call that a one-off. And we'll ask ourselves whether the generalized change in prices is having second-order effects on the economy. What does that mean, second-order effect? Basically what he's saying is, if we take out all the stuff that's gone up, is anything else having an effect on the economy? Guys, I'm not kidding. This is what he has planned for the new central bank. And this is why, guys, we are going to see inflation so much higher. But don't worry. They'll be able to come out on TV every month and tell you, hey, the inflation, it's only 3%. You know, right now we tell you if they say 3, it's 6. Jason, can you imagine, right? The new 3%? That could be like 9.
Well, and they say 3.5. It was a 2 to 3.5, 2.5 to 3, whatever that range is.
Yeah,
it was
yeah.
3.5.
Now it can go up to 3.5. They can still cut.
That's 7. And listen, it's been 2% before the last chunky years before the COVID inflation. It was 5% because the funny thing is, you know, it's 5% because if you look at the money creation on average over the last couple decades has been about 5%, especially this century. So, Joe, 5%, 5%, 5%. Now you got COVID, which they doubled the money supply, which has already brought that average up, and they're going to continue to print a higher degree, saying 2.5 to 3.5% is okay now. So really, Joe, yeah, I think it's more like 8%. I think what they're trying to do for guys that are doing the real numbers, keep it below 10. I bet they're going to try as hard as they can to keep it below double digits. And they've got a couple of tricks that they're going to try. And I keep talking about how the big banks will start printing money. If the big banks print money and actually loan it out into the economy, it will slow the inflation to a certain extent. It won't blow up. You know, it's like you're blowing the balloon up, and if you blow it too much, it pops. Well, they're trying to poke a few simple holes that alleviate the air that's being pumped in constantly. Now, whether that'll work or not, because most likely what I think is going to happen is the big banks are going to print up a bunch of free money, loan it to themselves with treasuries. Hey, it's almost no interest, but it's better than risking it with all these businesses that are going to fail. I'm not going to give it to Joe. He's going to go out and start up a new business and blow it. So I ain't going to give it to him. I ain't giving it to Jason. He's going to put his money where? Into a radio station, right? So I if that happens, then you're going to see inflation go bonkers.
Yeah,
you're just going to see inflation go bonkers. And I think these banks, if they print the money and they give these lower interest treasuries, they buy them up, they're going to have the same thing that happened to them during COVID when they bought long-term stuff because, we're going to have, 3% mortgages for people. And then they ended up with, wait a minute, you rose the rates? What? And the rates are going up, guys. Here's the thing. It's going down now, and it's going down next year maybe. But when the rates go back, they're going to be higher than they've been recently. So, Joe, they were at, 4.5%, 5.5%, right?
Yeah. Well, we're right now at 4.30.
But it was as high as 5, right? It was about 5.
Yep.
Okay.
It almost got to 5, yep.
Okay, so the next range of these higher rates are probably going to be 7. That's where we're going to dip it down to 0 or whatever they're going to do. The inflation's going to come in and pound us like a sledgehammer, and the rates will go up higher than the 5, 7 or 8. Then they'll do the same thing. They'll drop the rates and print even more money. This is what they attempt to do, and then it'll go up to 9% or 10%. This is what happened in the 70s. We're walking right down that path. I mean, we even have a conflict with Iran like they had in the 70s. Everything is reflecting. Everything.
Well, they just have better ways of dealing with it. Now, here's the funny part. They loved it. This guy's getting nominated. He's going to be the new head of the Fed, and he literally told them, hey, by the way, and you know why they loved it? Oh, that's going to be good, right? Social Security's broke. Medicare's broke, but, man, we need to lie to the American public so they don't know that we're stealing it from them. It's incredible what he said. He essentially said, listen, I'm just going to get rid of all the stuff that's high. And then we'll look at all the stuff that isn't high and then decide if we have inflation or not. That's
And he
That's essentially what he said.
And again,
correct me
if I'm wrong.
You know what? You can't substitute gasoline for your car, right? If your car takes gasoline, it needs gasoline. Well, won't count it.
And correct me if I'm wrong. Isn't he a guy that actually likes higher rates? He's going to lower them now.
Yeah. Yes,
but he likes higher rates. And what I told
he used to be considered a hawk back in the day.
So what I just said earlier matches up with the years to come with the Democrat president, which I think will be in 2028 election and take office in 2029. He'll be the right guy for that Democrat, which will be in a rate hiking cycle probably for 2 terms. It fits in perfect, Joe. Can you imagine mortgages at 15%? In the 2030s, I predicted we could have mortgages at 10 to 15%. How do you buy a $1 million home with 15% interest, Joe?
I only got to make $1 million a year. I don't know. Right? That's about
BlackRock.
I know how.
Got to be BlackRock.
Yes, ma'am. Back.
800-951-0592. That is our toll-free number. I've got 20 Saints. I don't have any more Liberties, but I got 20 Saints still available. 4,750. So right now, spot 4,735. So almost at spot. Matter of fact, 2 seconds. Well, now it's at 47.36. So right next to spot, I've got 20 of those. And then I've got $5 Liberties. Save $35 a coin, $1,250. Yeah, I mean, you know what? Can you imagine? I don't know, 2030, and you're like, hey, Joe, I need to sell a $5 Liberty today. What will you give me? What are we going to be talking about, $5,000? Right? I mean, look at what our new head of the Fed just said. I don't care about inflation. Matter of fact, let's just lie about it. Let's come up with a better way. See, because they want you to believe. See, here's what the nonsense was, that they could actually control inflation. They cannot. And Kevin Warsh essentially is just admitting it. He's like, well, I can't control if we're going to, have structural tightness or bomb Iran or, drought or, stuff. I can't control tariffs. They can't control. It was a fallacy to begin with. Why we have these guys, I don't know. It defies logic. It really, truly does. All as they do is steal and then lie about it. And the worst part is they say it right to our face now. At least before. Remember when they were all private? Oh, we're very private. Nobody knows what we're going to do. You can't get the Dow to 50,000 unless they know. Why is part of the, here's 2 things. Why is the Dow rallying? Because, most of us know it's a bubble. It's a huge bubble. Well, they know this guy's going to be next. Listen, everybody on Wall Street clapped their hands. They love inflation. Millionaires and billionaires love inflation. They love it. Less money for us, more money for them. But here's the problem. Bloomberg, the funding market, displaying several of what they call the markers that have preceded prior blowups in the repo rates. Now remember, I've tried to educate. They've done a pretty good job. When it comes to the repo markets, reverse repo, good. That means banks have more money than they know what to do with. Repo market, bad. What does that mean? That means the bank doesn't have enough cash to meet its daily obligation. So let's just keep it simple. Bank A today, okay, Bank A tonight, Okay, you guys, all of us went out there. We used our debit cards. We wrote checks, right? We sent wires, whatever. We were shopping on Amazon. We were going to the grocery store, whatever, getting gas. Well, at the end of the night, the bill comes due, right? The bill comes due, and the banks have to transfer that money to whoever, you spent it on. If you spent it at Walmart or Kroger, maybe they got to send it to your mortgage company, your insurance company, right? Maybe it's your doctor, whoever, right? Boom, it's got to be in their account. Well, when they have extra money, they put it in what they call the reverse repo facility. Why? Because our central bank bribes them to do it. Because they like it, because they like to say, see, look how healthy our banking system is. Our banks have they paid everything. They got all this extra money, and they actually pay them interest to do it. It's crazy. Where do they get the interest to pay them with? I'll just make it up. No big deal. Well, there's no money in that facility. So all the banks are kind of in the same boat. But Bank A in particular, on Thursday night, realizes, oh, hey, we're short. We don't have enough liquid. What they do, of course, it's all automated. So they'll put out there, let's just say they need $1 billion. So they'll put it out there, hey, I got $1 billion in treasuries. Will one of you other banks that has extra money loan it to me for the day, for the night? And I'll pay you a little more interest than what the Federal Reserve would have paid you for putting it in the reverse repo. What's happened is none of the other banks have extra money. They don't. Sorry. Man, I'm short. Bank B is like, well, gosh, I'm short. And Bank C is like, I'm short. Bank D says, well, I'm not short, but I don't have $1 billion. I don't have it. So they created what they call the repo facility or the repo window. Now, before the financial crisis, any bank that used the repo window was on the naughty list. Of course, they wouldn't tell us who was using it, right? Not going to tell you who it is, but that was always a sign of distress. So now they want this to be, they've normalized this. So now they're trying to convince us, well, it's not that bad. But I can tell you right now, most of the banks are at that window. And this is why they're saying, we've seen this before. This has, by the way, here's the funny part. This isn't a war thing. Right? This isn't because gas got expensive or we blew up bombs or no. This is the plumbing. Remember the other day I warned you guys in the money markets? I'm warning you. This is the plumbing for the bond and money markets. This is the foundation of every other financial market that exists in the world. And warning signs are coming. And I'll tell you, I'll give you an update of how big the warning is, and then you can decide. We'll be back after the break. 800-951-0592, Patriot Radio News Hour. Joe and Jason on this Thursday. Forget about the war. Forget about this new guy that's going to take over the Fed and magically try to make inflation disappear. We have a liquidity problem. Simple. The bubble is so big. I got $20 St. Gaudens. I still have 20 of them because the phone hasn't rang, so I know I still got 20 of them at $47.50. I mean, that's $15 below spot, $47.50. $5 Liberties at $1,250 at 800-951-0592. So what is going on? What is happening? So we already knew, because I've been telling you, right? You guys knew the reverse repo facility was empty. Now we're seeing the repo facility filling up. But these funding stress triggers in the recent days, now remember, we just got this influx of money from taxes that was supposed to help, and I told you, just wasn't enough. It didn't work out. Right? They were hoping to have more, and they don't. These triggers, right, which is obviously when we're saying that liquidity is not adequate, it's at its highest level in over 98% of the days over the last 8 years. Do you know what they go back to? You know the last time the stress trigger happened? Jason, I know you'll know. It was the bond crisis. Remember 2019? Right? We were here talking about it every day. Oh, here's $10 billion. Oh, wait, the next day. Oh, wait, $25 billion. Wait, 2 days of $50 billion. Right? They were...
Who knows what the real information was? What was the real numbers, right?
Right. And, of course, we know by the time it was over, right, we had a balance sheet that went from $4 trillion to $9 trillion by the time it was over. That was the last time that these triggers got to this point. What are they saying? First, funding stress shows up in the tails first. What have I told you about tails? When it comes to bond auctions, tails are bad, right? It's like flip a coin, heads or tails. Yeah, we don't want tails. We want heads. Wow. By the way, now tails are, we see that in the bond. Well, I'm not talking about the bond auction. This is the inner workings of the banking system. What is happening now is the banks that need to borrow money, they have rules in place like, this is the most that we can charge you. Right? This is the most. And these they're at the max. Right? And they get to the max, and then the Fed steps in, stop. We can't charge anymore. Here's some money, right? No actual true price discovery. Then the volatility, right? So these are the things that trigger it, right? And this is where they've been talking about how unstable the funds have become. Remember, the Fed is already in the market, trying to give the illusion that everything is smooth. And then, of course, funding volumes of domestic banks and Fed funds typically rise as total reserves in the system fall. And this is what we're talking about, right? Reverse repo's empty. Now I need to go borrow from the Federal Reserve, right? I need funding. All these elements are here. No one wants to talk about it. Everybody wants you to now, what, believe me, they're much happier that you worry about Iran. Worry about Iran. Yeah, look at Iran. They're stopped, right? Oh my God, got the draft tonight, right? I don't think ESPN is going to be talking about the repo facility tonight during the draft. I could be wrong, but I don't think so. And then obviously what happened with the tax money, guys, I'm telling you, it wasn't good. They are now saying that reserves are close to where they say, hey, it's barely ample. And Jason and I, this is what they've created everywhere, right? They've created these shortages, like fake shortages. I'm telling you, they're printing money like it's going out of style, and yet reserves are barely ample. Right? There's barely enough. And the biggest problem is the domestic banks, right? They don't have any. Right? There's no more reserves to go. Like Jason was saying, something's got to give here, right? Jason's like, maybe they'll just let the banks print more reserves. Something.
That's where they're headed. It's all about kicking the can down the road. Money is an idea, and if anything you can come up with, you just have to convince people to go with it. And usually that means less for us and more for them, right, Joe?
Guys, you're in the know now. You are in the know. Now the question is, what are you going to do to protect yourself? That's it. It's the only question. Patriot Radio News Hour, final segment coming up. 800-951-0592. Again, $20 Saints, $47.50. $5 Liberties at $1,250. When we look at, again, let's just look at what's happened here. So after the financial crisis, before the financial crisis, what did central banks do? Do you guys know? Central banks sold gold. Look at 1999. England sold all its gold. Idiots. And they broadcasted it that they were going to do it. Made sure the price, they got the least amount for it possible. Gold was dead. It's an ancient relic. Alan Greenspan, we're going to have the debt paid off by 2010. Don't worry about Social Security. It'll be fine. Everything's fine. And then things weren't fine. And it's funny is central banks stopped selling gold around 04, 05. They saw it ahead of time. And they've been buying gold ever since. It's never stopped. Not even 1 year. It's never stopped. Matter of fact, they've been setting records. 2022, 2023, 2024, 2025. And it doesn't stop. You have to ask yourself, well, what was it that they were buying before? Like, what were they buying when they were selling their gold? Dollars. Right? Maybe they were buying euros or, before the EU, maybe they were buying their own currencies, but they were buying debt. Fiat money debt. Pick which kind. And now gold has come from basically a ancient relic that you shouldn't even be able to get full value for. You can use half of the value to. It may be better than treasuries. Tier 1, highly liquid asset. And their choice is simple. I could buy treasuries. Could. But nah. Why? Why wouldn't they? And there's only one reason. Because they don't deem it safe. It's not safe. They always, right, Jason, they've said gold has been a hedge forever. A hedge against what? Well, a hedge against these idiots printing money like it's going out of style. They just won't stop.
It's because you can't print gold, just like you can't print a cow. And so these things stay stable versus one another. A cow and an ounce of gold. That's why I say gold is savings. A cow can be savings, but the problem with cow is savings, you have to feed it. It can die. But an ounce of gold stays. It can't even corrupt it. It can't corrode like silver and other metals. It's why it's been used as money, because It has a relative amount versus other things. Right, Joe? No false scarcity with gold, real scarcity.
Right. Remember, we'll be off tomorrow, but we'll all be back on Monday.